Here.
Bragg.
Here.
Harvey.
Here.
Mayor Robish.
Present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on to the agenda approval, I would like to add at the end 10.2, another contract role under SDCL 1-25-2. Anybody else have anything else?
Make a motion to approve agenda with a set amendment of 10.2.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Wainwright.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. Public forum is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per person. Please state your name and address for the record. Do we have anything in the audience for public forum? Anything from the commission? All right, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Matters appearing on the consent agenda are expected to be non-controversial and will be acted upon by the commission at one time, without discussion, unless a member of the commission requests an opportunity to address any given item. Items removed from the consent agenda will be discussed at the beginning of the formal items. Our consent agenda consists of 4.1 minutes of December 16, 2024, 4.2 fuel quotes for city departments, 4.3 consider on-sale alcoholic beverage application filed by James Valley Shriner Club for an indoor ice fishing event on January 18th at the campus center. 4.4 consider on-sale alcoholic beverage application filed by James Valley Shriner Club for the Cavour Volunteer Fire Department event on January 24th at the campus center. And 4.5 personnel items. Number 1, accept the voluntary resignation of interim deputy accounting coordinator Kelly Sherman from the finance office effective December 13th, 2024. Number 2, post internally and advertise for that position, the deputy accounting coordinator position in the finance office. And number 3, grant full-time status to David Johnson, Solid Waste Maintenance 1, for completing his 1,040-hour probationary period, making him eligible for the supplemental benefits. And number 4, accept the seasonal employment of John Todd as a CDL truck driver in the street department for snow removal. And finally, 4.6, payment of the bills.
Move to approve consent.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Wainwright.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. Moving on to bid quote items, 5.1, consider pay request number 8 from BX Civil and Construction, Inc. for the Dakota Avenue Improvement Project in the amount of $138,718. I'll turn this over to City Engineer Brett Runge.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a progress payment to finish out the year, and included on this is some stored materials. They have some pavers and stored on site, and then some weathered steel and different things for the planters and stuff that are stored, and we know where they're at. We looked at it and accounted for it. So just final payment for the year on these. We recommend approval.
All right, thank you.
Motion to approve. Second.
We won't have any questions because he'll be back here later on explaining everything. So roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Wainwright.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. Moving on to petitions and communications. Consider the agreement for land purchase and authorize the mayor to sign all the documents. I'm going to let Commissioner Bragg introduce this to us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so this is just an update. We had previously discussed this on a couple of occasions, and I think we even approved this one previously, but we did not have all the direction for the mayor to sign everything. So we do have the purchase agreement from the seller back and signed from their side. So the mayor would just sign the other side of it. That would be the purchase agreement would allow us to purchase the land. If you recall, this is land kind of behind Walmart, and it will allow us to bring that Gibbs Park area and connect it into the city trail program for future use for outdoor recreation and wellness. And this, nothing has changed in terms of, we'd originally said we would set aside 150,000, 75 would be from the city, 75 would be from donors. All but I think the last 25,000 has come in from the donor groups, and that's just a matter of getting this signed before they can release it. And then the purchase price ended up being 125,000, so that still leaves us some room for covering all of our other costs and keeping it under budget. So we do have the plat, we just picked that up today, so the survey has been completed, it's been platted. Next steps after the mayor signs it would be for that to go before joint planning, before county and before the city, and get that plat signed next. But this would be just allowing the mayor to sign the purchase agreement so that we can get the money finalized and move it on to the next step.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bragg. There's been quite a bit of buzz going around about that, so it's
Pretty
very
exciting.
exciting. So, any questions? Or let's have you want to put that in form?
Yeah, I'd make that in the form of a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Now, are there any questions? Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. Moving on to 6.2, consider approval of Huron Amendment 2, 2021, the Big Preservation Grant Agreement number 717610, and authorize the mayor to sign. I'm gonna let Mr. Runge go on these again. I know it's a big preservation, but that means something.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. So this is for the Third Street Bridge project that we have bid out. We bid it this year. Construction won't occur until next year. We had to do a 2-year construction period on it to get interest. It was a smaller project, and there's a lot going on. But this is an amendment with the South Dakota DOT agreement that we have for shared payment of that. And basically what the amendment does is it modifies the payout option, or it adds a payout option, which allows the DOT to pay a good portion of the grant funds upon receipt of signed contracts, which will reduce the amount of processing needed for payment. Typically, payment for the consultant fees and different things like that, we have to have all the invoicing, and there's a lot of red tape, if you will, that goes with it, and they've streamlined that a little bit with this amendment. There's going to be 2 of these because the way that this ended up with this project is we received 2 different grants, so they're under 2 different agreements with the DOT. This is for the 2021 agreement that we had. We recommend approval and request authorization for the mayor to sign.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for the engineer? Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. And Brett, the next one is just the second part of that. Okay.
That's correct. That would be the second portion of that agreement that we have with the DOT, and same justification.
Yep. Thank you.
Make a motion to approve 6.3.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. Moving on to departmental items, consider recommendation from the Capital Assets Committee for an additional change for the front door system in the amount of $3,495. Pauline and Carrie, would you like to elaborate on that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Doug let me know, we had a full quote for the budget, but within that quote, there was no requirements, or nothing in there for the ADA requirements for the push buttons on the door, so this is including, this addition includes those requirements with ADA.
Sure. And this is for the
Fine Arts Center.
Fine Arts Center building? Yes.
East doors.
Yes, yes. I would entertain a motion for that.
I would move to make that.
Second.
Any questions on that? Go ahead.
So are we at some point gonna need to do anything with the other doors, or are they fine as is, as long as these are up to date, or?
That one, to answer your question, no, I don't believe there's anything in the works, other than there's a big garage door on the west side of the building that's being replaced this coming year. But otherwise, the entry doors should be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Smith.
Aye.
Weinrice.
Aye.
Bragg.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Robish.
Aye. 8.2, consider CenturyLink long-distance contract. I'm gonna ask Chad Morgan to come forward, and he's our IT director, and he's gonna give us some information on this.
Not much on this one. This is master service agreement with CenturyLink about the long-distance lines that we are moving from the state-centric systems to our own contracts now. So this is our rates and fees and any applicable costs or service work done by CenturyLink for us for those services.
Okay. Would entertain a motion for that?
I'd move to approve that.
Second.
Anybody have anything they would like to ask? Chad? Go ahead.
Chad,
Go ahead.
what do you anticipate, is there a big change in
There,
cost?
the costs go up $10 a line, from being on the state system. We still get volume license pricing through the state's, agreement with CenturyLink, but it is more than what it was on this centric system. Then again, the only reason they're getting rid of it is because it's kind of archaic, outdated, and it serves no purpose in today's telephone world as such. Also, with all of this, over the weekend, I did get a couple more contracts that need to be signed, and as they relate to this, one is the letter of agency agreement, which is another City of Huron and carrier access with CenturyLink, excuse me. We're allowing carrier access to act on behalf of us in these long distance agreements. So it's just signing, stating that we give carrier access that permission to act as our agent in this process, and then the actual long distance agreements for those numbers.
Yes, sir.
So I apologize for the non-technical nature, but the idea of VoIP, is that still, even with a VoIP system, we would still need these contracts, or could we eventually get away from having them as individual?
So there are some phones that we can, there are some that we can't. Some of these, for instance, the police department phone numbers, the 8550 through 8557, I think is what's still technically what they call POTS, plain old telephone system. Because of how they come into the building, because how they go into the Viper system, I think they have to be that way unless we work with CenturyLink to bring that technology up to be in line with how that system actually operates. Other lines are like our phone dialers that are at the lift stations and some of these other places throughout the city that don't actually have an operator. It's just a device that when something happens, it picks up and dials out and calls who's ever on call so that they can fix the problem. So we really can't do those with those because the dialers don't have that functionality. There probably are, we just don't have those.
Do those dialers need a long distance though?
They do not, well, it depends on the phone they're calling to. If somebody has the on-call phone that isn't on-call, they can get the phone swapped. If we have some people that have long-distance numbers that move in, we still need it to have some form, a little bit of long distance just for that emergency call and that rotation, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know, and I know it's on, we talked about this before, it's on your long-term plan eventually to consolidate some of these and
Yes.
maybe not have quite as many, because $10 a line.
It adds up fast.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can I also
Yes.
add to authorize him to sign these agreements?
Okay,
I think they come
Yeah, they come to me, I
to him
guess.
sure,
directly.
sure. Brian, did you get your question answered?
I did, and I would amend my motion to
Okay.
allow Chad to sign
Thank you.
those.
Okay. Any other questions for Chad? Roll call vote, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Weinreich,
Aye.
Bragg,
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Mayor Roberts.
Aye. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
He's already gone, I guess, so. All right, moving on to 8.3, City Engineer 2024 Project Updates. You've been holding on these for a whole year, Brett, so
All year long.
just relax and go through them, okay?
All year long. All right, thank you, Mayor. So I'll scan through some of the highlights on these items. There's about 20 of them. Please feel free to stop and ask more questions if you have anything as I go through some of these. But just kind of wanted to go through what we've done this last year, projects that have been completed, projects that we began and we're continuing through. It's kind of a focus on what's occurred through the engineering department and the various other departments that work with us this year. It's been a very, very busy year. To start out with, we have the 2021 wastewater treatment facility improvements project, phase 1. That was with our new SPRs on the east side of town. That project began all the way back in 2021, but final payment for that project did not occur until January of this year. There was some delays for various other reasons. We were operating it through last year for essentially most of the year last year. We've operated it all year this year. It's functioning, it's working well, it's doing good treatment. But the DA&R then came out this summer and met with us and did their final walkthrough to complete the project and close it. This is an SRF project, so they needed to close the project for the SRF loan. The project is complete and can be closed. The budget on this project was $14,900,000. In the end, I may have missed a few items that have come through billing, but the budget was around $14,400,000 is what we spent. We ended up under budget on this with some pretty good change there, which I say change loosely because it was just less that we have to borrow. So,
We only borrowed about 10 million.
I don't know if Pauline has anything else to add on that one, being an SRF.
No, that's what I was gonna add, is, we were a little over 10 million that we actually borrowed from SRF, but we had been approved to borrow the full amount.
Yep. So, the budget was good with wastewater, and then we also received some CDBG money and some different other things, I think, when this one, so. Moving on then, unless there's questions, the 2023 Huron parking ramp removal and new parking lot construction project. This would be the Crossroads parking ramp that was removed last year and filled in, and then we waited through a winter freeze cycle and then paved it this spring. Once it was paved, we realized that the parking lot layout did not meet standards. They were very close together, and then the stalls themselves were very tight and virtually impossible to get into with larger vehicles, which is the primary vehicle in this area. So we had to go back and we had to revise the layout, which required correcting some paint, changing some concrete islands so that we could modify that layout. IMEG was the consultant on this project. If you recall, we agreed with them. The change order cost was $61,571. We agreed to split those costs with them. In the end, the city did do some in-kind work too in addition to that. But the project is now complete and can be closed. The parking layouts works well. We haven't received any complaints. They seem, and for like hunting and stuff, I see every now and then there's pickups with trailers that actually have room to be able to park in that and get out with the stalls. So it's interesting enough to remove a parking ramp and build an at-grade parking lot and probably have more usable parking than we ever did before. So this project would be a success in our mind, even with the parking stall setback. The budget on this was $1,775,000, all in total, with the $31,000 that came back from IMEG as they paid us back in the end for splitting those costs. We came up around $1,600,000, we'll say, because there's some fees that I don't have on here that we had to buy the paint, for instance, and a few other items. So we are under budget on that project and it can be closed out. The 2023 Memorial Park baseball lighting upgrade. What this project consisted of was replacing 4 of the existing infill lattice towers with monopoles that were outside the field of play. If you recall, those lattice towers that were there, they were actually in the field of play, and players could run into them fairly easy if they weren't paying attention. It was a safety hazard, which is why we received some money to put towards this. The budget on this was $334,000, but the contract came in over that budget at $364,000. There really wasn't much changing to this. It was what was needed to be done there. In addition to changing out those lattice towers with monopoles, we also included upgrade the lights to LED, all the lights. This project is now complete and can be closed. It was actually completed this spring. There was some damage to the field, which you may still see the remnants of if you look with their equipment. It was unfortunate we didn't have a really solid freeze last winter, so in order to get the towers up, they ended up going out onto a soft field. But they did come back, and with a lot of help from the Parks and Rec Department too, we got those fields cleaned up and put back into condition so that you can't feel the tracks or notice the tracks that are out there. I don't know if Chad has anything to add to that.
No, sounds good.
Just a quick add to this one as well. We had, almost half of that was grant funds.
50/50 LWCF,
And did the remainder come from COVID fund?
No, it was second penny.
The second penny, okay. Then the 2023 Jersey Avenue Drainage Project, Drainage Improvement Project. We were in design on this. It was supposed to be bid out this year. This is down by Jersey Avenue, where before it goes under the railroad tracks there, and about every 3 years it seems like it floods and the water goes over the road there and it washes some of that area out. So the intent was to basically concrete that area so that when it does flood, because we know what's going to happen, it just goes over the road and it doesn't really cause any damage, is the intent of the project. As we got into the project, we realized that we needed to replace the culverts. We didn't want to put all this concrete over the top of the existing metal culverts there, the corrugated metal pipe. And we were able to get into them and actually see the condition that they were in. So there's some delays with that. Then we also ran into some delays with some floodplain permitting. It's down in the floodplain, and so some Army Corps permitting. So that delayed the whole project, and we decided just to back up because we were going to be over budget anyways, and just go through design and bid it out fresh this next year with a revised budget. So the budget at the time was $235,000. We were under contract for $49,840 with Infrastructure Design Group was the engineer. So we used that budget, that 2024 budget, to pay that design. But then we're going into 2025 with a new budget of $540,000, and the construction estimate for construction is $480,000 now. So we will be bidding this project for construction in 2025.
Did that go up significantly because you were replacing the culverts?
We're replacing the culverts, then it became realized that there's more bank stabilization that we needed to do on the James River side. We were gonna do grouted riprap through some of that, and then we realized that after we got into the spring and actually the weed cover and some of that was gone, there was not as much riprap there as we had thought there was originally. So that added some cost there to provide more bank stabilization through that. And since we're in the floodplain, anything we do down there, we have to model it and show a no rise with the improvements that we're making. Otherwise, we have to go through FEMA and do a Lomar-Clomar situation, which adds up to $40,000-$50,000 of FEMA permitting and review. So everything that we do, we try to do it in a manner that it doesn't create a rise to the floodplain.
Is development James River the water district? Are they helping in that at all?
They are not involved in this. The 2023 Solid Waste Transfer Station Project. This project it's basically determined to move the solid waste transfer facility to 4th Street, which it's unique, but 3rd Street Bridge kind of turns into 4th Street and goes by the community gardens. And the building site got moved through the design, and it's gonna be a new transfer station facility there with an above-ground scale. It'll have new public drop-off area, which has been utilized already, and there'll be 24/7 secure yard waste drop-off when we're all done with everything, with fencing and a kiosk where you can go in with your credit card, or not credit card, excuse me, driver's license. And as long as you're a resident of Huron, you get access to these facilities, right? Construction of the project was severely delayed this spring when wind blew down the building structure, which sucked. So the building is enclosed with, it took a while, it delayed everything, they had to clean it up. They went through their insurance to get paid for the building structure that blew down. There was lots of delays through that. The foundation was damaged through that, so they had to go through and do some redesign on the foundation to make it usable for the structure. And they went back, we got the building put back up. It's now completely enclosed, and we are working through with a lot of work going on with mechanical and electrical inside right now. Temporary heat's in there. That became another issue. Just some various challenges with Northwestern. We were not able to get natural gas put into that site this year. And the ground froze up before they were able to get it in. They ran into some easement issues. They thought they were going to get an easement that they were not able to get in the end. And then there was also, with 4th Street being reconstructed, there was also some delay with that. But at any rate, we were not going to get natural gas into the facility. So we have made plans to provide temporary heat to get us through the rest of the winter. And what we will be using is we have access to some diesel burners, like the Public Works facility used to keep it warm while they were changing out the boiler system. One we own, the other one the surplus, Army surplus has, and they'll let us use it to get through here. So we'll utilize those to heat the facility. They are planning to complete this. They think they're going to complete it mid-January. That doesn't look likely from what's going on right now. I would expect we'll be in there in February is the plan, to hope to get started moving. Talking through this with Dale, I don't believe it's going to be a full-blown move everything there in February. It's going to kind of be an ease ourselves into it, get things moved and kind of get the bugs worked out of it before we start sending everybody there. There's a significant amount of work that just couldn't get done before freeze up and before winter hit. Even as late of a fall as what we had, it's just the project's we're really behind schedule. And so there's a lot of work that has to be completed this spring at their site grading, site restoration with seeding. There is fencing that needs to be put in. There's quite a bit of work that needs to be done yet that'll be delayed off until this spring. The drop-off site, like I said, was open through the year. It worked great. There was lots of public comments through this, compliments, I should say, through it. I think it would be a great asset for the city of Huron once we're complete with the project. Again, we're looking at completion in February of 2025. So this project had an original completion date of November 29th, 2024. So basically a month ago. And we're looking at probably being 3 months behind schedule, at least is what I would expect here by the time we're done. The budget on this project was $9,200,000. In the end, through the contract with the contractor, the engineering that we have, and what the Forester contract work that we've done, we're right at about $9 million is where we're sitting at about now. There are some change order items that are kind of coming through back and forth. We also know we're going to go over contract with the consultant because there will be 3 months of additional construction that they've been setting on. Likely we'll be working through that maybe with some liquidated damages possibly, or working through that with the contractor to pay those fees and try to keep this project under budget. It has been a challenge. In addition, we were just notified this morning by Dale. He's been trying to keep the existing waste baler functional and operating. This morning he had, actually it was Friday I think last week, they ended up with a leak on one of their main hydraulic lines. And so they had someone come in and weld it this morning. They did get it up and running again, but we're just operating on limited time with that thing. It's just at the age that it's in, it's just, eventually, we're not gonna be able to keep it going. So, I told Dale we need 2 more months at least, 3 more months, just, play nice. But, they are, some of the plans, they are looking at, putting doors in, I think, next week on the facility. The new baler is looking to begin install on January 5th. They're supposed to be here and putting the new baler into place. Chad has been working with them, quite a bit on, there's a lot that goes into this with the kiosk and the automatic billing and the camera system and the scale and the weighing system and all that. There's a lot, and Chad will be fully involved with that, has been. So that was a long discussion, but there's a lot of things happening with that project right now.
You got the easement straightened out now for Northwestern?
Uniquely.
We're gonna use temporary heat for the rest of the
Right. Uniquely, we basically determined we didn't need the easement in the end, and it's just gonna go down the ditch of 4th Street from Custer Avenue. I don't really have a good answer of why that wasn't proposed to start with all along, I guess, because what we've already paid Northwestern, we paid Northwestern like $40,000 to bring gas into there. And by going from Custer Avenue down the south ditch line of 4th Street to the facility, we're gonna get like 14,000 back, instead of coming straight in from the north, which they were gonna have to bore under the railroad tracks and go under the property owned by Spencer Quarries. So I wish we would've just went that route to start with, but there was some different items that we ran into there, and so.
Are they gonna bore under Custer again then, so they don't rip that up, or are they to get?
Yes, they would be boring. This would be a small diameter line. We
Okay.
would not have to
Okay.
open cut this.
All right.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, I believe they're talking 2-inch line, I believe.
Oh, okay.
2-inch. I'll keep moving then. We have the 2023 project phase 3 and 4 SCADA upgrades. This is for the water system. The phase 3 is the water system and radio network. The phase 4 is the wastewater collection system project. This is basically the system that helps us monitor and control all of the lift stations around town, the wells, the water towers, right? It all is part of that data acquisition and control. That project is underway, and the phase 3 project has actually been completed, and there are some punch list items remaining. Phase 4 is partially complete, and they're just continuing to install more and more they're updating control panels in our lift stations. So I believe they'll be coming after the first of the year and installing a bunch more there, and they'll be moving through on that very quickly. Both of these projects will extend into 2025 for final completion. The budget total on these projects was $1,065,000. You see the phase 3 contract and the phase 4 contract, which both come out of different budgets in the end. But total, we're at $858,660. We're well under budget. I believe we will add a few items. We determined that we need to add a flow meter and a couple items out at the water treatment facility. And once Rob has that figured out, we'll be bringing that to commission for your review and approval. The 2024 Dakota Avenue Improvements project from 9th Street to 3rd Street North. Again, another one that will probably has a lot of interest here, right? So this is our Dakota Avenue project through downtown Huron. And part of the project is we're replacing all of the water main. And there's a few spot repairs of sanitary sewer, but the main gist of the utility side of the project was replacing the water main through this whole area. That has been completed from 7th Street to Market. The other major portion of the job that the city has, and this project is in conjunction with the DOT, they're doing the road work and everything else, essentially the surface restoration. But the other part of this project was the streetscape through downtown, which extended from 5th Street to Market. And as you see, that did not get completed here this fall. Few things led into some of that delay. The project initially was in plan phase when we went out to bid was only gonna be a year completion. And during bidding, they decided to extend that completion date, needed more time to do it. That kind of caught the city by surprise with our consultant. We probably should have put an interim completion date then on the streetscape portion of the project, so that we didn't end up with as much, like they had to finish behind them as they were completing, as they were moving forward. There's just different things, learning process through this, right? And, of course, we have a consultant involved here too, but just sometimes you can't control everything, right? And so what they have done now is they completed all the concrete work through the downtown area. That includes the colored concrete. That includes they've completed some of the pads for the pavers, and then they've done pavers. Next to the street there in between the planters. They did not do the planters. Those are the areas, if you see the barricades right now, those are the areas that are barricaded off. Those will be completed next spring where all those planters are. And there are also some monuments and some wayfinding points and different things that'll be through there. The other piece that will not be completed until next year is the trees, and then there's the benches and some of the other items will be pushed into next spring, that'll be completed. The lighting, so that's a big issue right now, is the light poles showed up, and they were gonna show up and they were gonna be put up that same week. So the contractor laid them all out on the project, and they found out when they went to go set all the lights up that between the decorative arm on the light and the actual light fixture itself, they did not have the bracket to mount those. And so they ordered them. They're hoping they're here this week or next week. And once they have that, they'll be looking to set those lights up, those decorative lights that are all laying down. That still leaves us with the issue of the pedestrian light on the backside of the light pole. And if you recall, this is something that the city added, just decorative means it's an acorn-looking light. It's kind of like a lantern, looks like a lantern. Very sharp light. I think it'll be great when it's done. They did not have a bracket for that either, to connect that to the decorative arm on the back side of the pole, the sidewalk side. They're still working on fabricating that or coming up with a solution for that. So that will be delayed and be later after the lights are put up. But I do believe they have a solution and they're working through that. As far as the signal lights, they do have temporary signals at 3rd Street and Market right now. Those remain. The signal poles and lights did show up last week, I believe it was. They're working on pulling wire this week, and they're looking at putting the signal pole up on 4th Street first, because they're getting some complaints on 4th Street, and they already got temporary signals on 3rd and Market, and then they'll move through 3rd and Market and get those up, but they're working on those actively. So it's holiday time frame, right? So they were supposed to, the schedule, they're supposed to be pulling wire today and then I suppose starting to set that up maybe later this week, those poles, right? They have to bring in a crane to set those up. They're a little more challenging, right? And they'll have to close traffic off through some of that. So there'll be some adjustments to traffic control through there. Right now, everybody can drive through Dakota, but there will be some traffic control through there as they're setting up those signal poles. Temporary delays.
The pedestal footing on all that though is done, right? I mean.
All the concrete work, the anchor
Concrete,
bolts, that's all there. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And the conduit's all in place. They have to pull some wire for it, but it should be setting them up and basically bolting stuff together at this point with that. And there's, for the signal lights, there are control cabinets that they'll have to set and bring online, right? So this project, right now, the downtown businesses, there was a struggle this year, and that's recognized. And it's just it's a dirty project. It's very difficult. I mean, I think, this is like a 1 in 50 year type project, right? So it's tough, the disturbance that they've seen this year. The plan is hopefully they don't have to see that for the next 50 years, right? Is the idea, right? And that we'll have the streetscape in place. I believe it'll be very rewarding once it's complete. So, the budget on this project, we knew we were over budget in the end when the bids came in, so we are planning for that and working through that. Are there any other questions? This project's obviously going to continue on through 2025.
Brett, are those soft costs for design, engineer, and so on, is that included in the water portion, streetscape portion, or is that a separate item?
So those costs are included honestly right now. Have we split those out between water and streetscape? I think we were splitting them out by percentage, which is basically by the bid, it comes out to about 50-50.
So they're included in your current construction cost numbers?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the water portion was ARPA funds.
Right. Yep.
Do we?
Yeah, because like design wasn't included, those are construction and CA, so yes.
Yeah.
One question we get asked quite often is, do you know what the next phase is, Brett?
Yes, so the next phase of that project will be from 9th Street to 21st Street, and that is later to be discussed. We are in design on that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We are working with a consultant and with DOT right now on design on that
Okay.
project. Yep.
Okay.
Well, it's 7th to 9th, that they haven't even completed that portion of this yet, right, because they stopped at 7th.
Yep, so what will be remaining for next year is 7th to 9th, which should be pretty smooth, to be honest. There's some water to go through there, but if you noticed how quickly they did 5th to 7th, it'd be very similar in that manner, right? Then things slow down a little bit because they have to go from Market north across the railroad tracks all the way up to 3rd Street north. So there's going to be a little bit of delay as they're working through that Market Street intersection and through the railroad track area.
Okay, so that's the.
That would be next year.
That's the next timeline, 7th and 9th and.
Yeah, yes, when you mentioned phase, I'm sorry, okay. This part of the next phase of this project
Right.
itself, well, yes, that'll be 7th to 9th next summer, and then Market to 3rd Street North.
Okay.
Which would be next summer.
Yeah, that's what I
Market to
thought.
3rd Street North, for instance, though, they will keep traffic on one side of the road to the other.
Oh. Okay,
They'll only be shutting down half of the street.
sure. Okay,
I think they should get easier after those two that we had in our discussion. I'll move through quickly, a little quicker here now. So 2024 water main replacement project, that's just our standard water main project. This one was a little bigger because it included 3 years of water main, because this is tied with that ARPA funding. It all had to be designed and under contract by the end of this year in order to receive the ARPA funding that we were looking for. So we did 3 years of a project in one bid, and that included 41 blocks of old cast iron and asbestos cement pipe that would be replaced with PVC. There'll be a large boring under Highway 14, and there's another boring on the railroad tracks on Kansas Ave Northeast that's included, which would be some of the unique portions of this project. It's currently about 36% complete and will continue through 2025. The contractor on this is Manning Excavating. The budget was $3,968,450. That's according to the ARPA facility plan that we had. And the contract, per the bid, the current contract at this point is $3,825,057. We are under budget at this point yet. 2024 project for the 3rd Street Bridge repair. I mentioned that earlier on a couple of items that went through the agenda, but basically that project is an epoxy deck seal and embankment stabilization on the 3rd Street Bridge. We received a 80/20 big grant to pay for this, and the project was delayed for various reasons with the 3rd Street dam, and some of the work was occurring there. We had to wait until the Lomar FEMA's Lomar-Clomar portion of that, because they changed river flow there. We had to wait until that was completed before we could finish up the bridge project and move on, because we needed the new profile for the floodplain to work off from. And so basically, the project was bid in '24. We ended up making it a 2-year project. It will begin in 2025, and the completion date is the end of next year. The budget on this project is $391,525. We are currently sitting at about $360,000, so we are under budget on this project at this point yet. 2024 street milling and overlay. This again is our typical project that we do every year, and we work around town with the streets that need it the most. A lot of it follows the water main project from the previous year and overlays those areas. There are approximately 45 blocks of street that was milled and overlaid, including the parking lot of the Congregational Church. That project is complete and can be closed. The budget was $1,026,756. In the end, we finished the project at $9,777,994, so we were under budget on that project. The 2024 lift station improvements project, this again is tied to ARPA funding. So it ended up being a 2-year project that we ended up bidding out, had to be under contract by the end of this year to receive that ARPA money. It includes rehabilitation of concrete wet wells, installation of a submersible lift station, and replacement of 2 package lift stations. The wet well has been rehabbed, the wet wells have been rehabbed, the submersible lift station has been installed. We are waiting for those packaged lift stations to be fabricated, and they'll be installed this next year. The project is about 50% complete and will continue into 2025. The budget was $1,175,000. We ended up contracting out on this at $1,198,678, so we were slightly over budget on this project when we awarded it. 2028 sewer main lining project, another project tied to ARPA funding. So we end up bidding out a 2-year lining project, which includes 68 blocks of lining for vitrified clay pipe. And so there's a lot of offset joints, there's a lot of cracking, there's some I&I that's coming through this pipe. So we're lining through it to basically revitalize the life of it, and instead of installing new pipe. The purpose of trying to control I&I, which is inflow and infiltration, is basically that's groundwater or it's water flowing over the surface that goes directly into our manholes. We have to treat that if it goes into our wastewater system, and it costs extra money to treat extra gallons, right? So we're trying to limit how much extra flow we bring into that wastewater system to cheapen up treatment cost. The lining project is about 35% complete. They are working on it through the winter here now. It's a struggle at times. Several times their truck has froze up, but they keep working through it. And they will keep working into 2025. The budget is $2,040,200. The contract is $1,964,071. And we also have some testing invoiced at about $9,000. So we're well under budget on that at this particular point too, and I don't see any issues moving forward with this project. The sanitary sewer manhole lining project. This is also tied to ARPA. Again, we receive ARPA funding for these projects. It consists of lining the sanitary sewer manholes around town. We kind of go around and look at the manholes that need it the most, and then we put them on the list. We had a budget of $90,000 this last year. We ended up doing a little extra, and because there was a couple manholes we wanted to add in, and we ended up doing $95,858 on this project. So just type. 4th Street reconstruction. This is the reconstruction of 4th Street from basically the James River Bridge there at 3rd Street to Custer Avenue. It's going to go by the new solid waste transfer facility, which also goes by the community gardens. The road has been basically realigned. There were some sharp curves there, if you recall. Well, it was only less than a year ago that they were there. But there's some sharp curves there by Dakota Pork. Those are now been straightened. We flattened the hill through there. And the road has basically been regraded. We're gonna let it go through a winter thaw, and then we'll pave it here this next spring. That project is on schedule. It will continue into 2025. The budget was $2,225,000. We're currently sitting at around $2,147,000 with it, so we were under budget on that project at this point. The 2024 asphalt crack sealing project. Every year, we just bid out so many blocks of crack, or so many pounds of crack sealing, and try to get as far as we can get on this project, and that's basically going around streets that cracks are starting to widen up. We're trying to seal them up to prevent that water from penetrating into the pavement, which will eventually cause its failure. The project consisted of 50 blocks of sealing, including Lincoln Ave this last year. We do that in the fall because heat, expansion contraction with warm or cold weather, right? We want those cracks to open up and seal them when they're the most open. So we try to do it when it's cooler, rather than in the heat of the summer and they close up, right? So the budget was $52,198. We ended up under budget at $51,243. Chip seal and fog seal. This is something new. We work together in conjunction with the street department on this. And we move around town with the chip seal. We try to chip seal the city's asphalt streets every 7 to 10 years. To basically, the purpose is to seal and bind the pavement and to renew the wearing surface. Includes what a chip seal is. We're basically applying an asphalt emulsion and then layering it with crushed rock. And then what the fog seal is, we come over the top of that and seal it with another application of asphalt emulsion. So it looks like a brand new street to the untrained eye, but it's just a well-sealed street at this point to prevent that water penetration into it. Obviously, if you have potholing or ruts and stuff, you can't get by with just a chip seal and fog seal. You would need to actually provide pavement or do something to remove those ruts or that crack. This is something that the city started doing, the street department started doing fog seals in the last couple of years, and we really like the result of it and have been working through that. We fog sealed the street department. They chip fog sealed approximately 55 blocks this last year, and their budget was $152,678 for that. The 2024 salt storage shed. So this is a project that we built this last year to provide a salt storage shed to replace the one that.
Is it the fairgrounds?
No, I thought it's solid waste and it blew down.
It blew down.
Oh.
I was thinking it blew down for a second there, but then it seems like we have a lot of buildings blowing down.
Heavy damage.
So
There were some insurance funds.
there are some insurance funds to help pay for this. Basically, it's a wood frame building that has like a concrete foundation wall around it. We were going to go with like the hoop barns like you see that DOT has around the state. They've actually moved away from those hoop barn because it's kind of proprietary work, so trying to get somebody in to patch the fabric material if it leaks or rips, right? So they've moved away from that themselves too. And so we ended up working with Pearson Harris. Randy Hoshide provided the structural engineering on this. It turned out to be a good project, and we're currently using it. There are some punch list items, so it will not be completed until 2025. There's some minor items that they gotta finish up. But the budget on this was $255,000, and we came in right around $221,000 with Randy's help on the engineering side too. So we were well under budget there. It's out at the Public Works facility, so it's right close and easy for the Public Works, for the street department to utilize. A good project there. 2026 Dakota Avenue improvements, 21st Street South to 9th Street South. So this is what I thought you were talking about, Mayor. This is the next phase of Dakota Avenue that DOT is looking at, and they are looking at a 2026/2027 construction season for this. And what the city's portion of this project is going to be is we're going to be replacing the sanitary sewer basically the entire way. There will also be some storm sewer replacement down 9th Street that we'll include into this. And then we'll also be replacing the trees that they're taking out which basically goes from 9th Street to about 15th Street, I think, through that residential area. Design is underway. We're working with DGR Engineering on this particular project. Design is underway because we need to have design completed this spring so that this summer DOT will review and develop plans and we'll work through that, and then it'll be bid this next winter. So the budget for that is $220,000 for design. This is only design. And our contract is $219,501, so we're under budget in the end on that. And we're working on that currently. Jersey Avenue Northeast Storm Sewer. This is a project that the city street department wants to do. It's up by the rifle range. I'm trying to think of the name of it here.
Isaac Wall.
Thank you, Isaac Walton Rifle Range, right? And we have some drainage issues up there, and Bob wants to put in some storm sewer to control those drainage issues. So the city, the engineering department will put together design, the street department, and in conjunction with the water department likely, will install that storm sewer. We were not able to get to that with all the projects that were occurring this year. We actually had to end up surveying it here in the winter, and we'll finish design. So this project, the budget will need to be rolled over into 2025. We had budgeted $62,025 for basically pipe materials, and so that'll project will move into the next year. And then just to wrap up, just the other things that the engineering
Brad?
department does. Yeah.
Is that the 7th Street on the south side of the Isaac Walton, will that be paved or is it gonna remain gravel?
That will remain gravel. The rest of the streets up in that area are all gravel, right? So that would be like the only paved street in the area. This storm sewer that we're putting in, we're not putting in curb and gutter. The intent is we'll be looking at various portions of it and putting in catch basins.
Okay.
So it's a ditch profile up in that northeast corner of town, if you recall. So except for where we're looking, there's not a good enough ditch to effectively drain the water away. So that's why we need to do something different.
Thank you.
Yep. So the other things that the engineering department works on with other departments, equipment procurement and project bidding. This last year, we were working together with Dale with the hook truck. The budget on that was $277,000, and it came in around $200,830. That has already been delivered, and he's been using it. He really enjoys that, he says. There's the 2024 walking floor trailer. We had budgeted $135,000 for that. It was put on hold for now until we finish up the project, the solid waste facility project. There was also the Elgin Pelican street sweeper. We had budgeted $276,620, knowing that the cost was going to be off from Sourcewell, I believe, at the same price, $276,620. That piece of equipment has been delivered already. 2 police cruisers. We did not end up bidding these out this last year. We had been getting Ford Expeditions, and they kind of went away from their fleet vehicles. We weren't going to be able to get those, and so made the change to the Chevy Tahoes, 2 of them this last year, right? And that went through the capital asset committee in the end. So the budget there was $100,000, but was able to get 2 of those this last year for $145,220. They've both been delivered. There has been some issues with them, but I think we're working through that, right? One's currently down.
We got that one back. Yeah, we had some issues, some engine issues, but that's been resolved under warranty, and we think we're gonna make the appropriate changes to hopefully prevent any further issues.
Okay. And you guys like the Tahoe moving forward?
For the most part, as far as the drive, the comfort, the storage, everybody seems to like them. They are larger, so not everybody loves them, but for what we do and the equipment that we need to fit inside, they're great.
So then, the last item that, equipment that was procured this last year of notability was, Diamond Boom mower. which was budgeted at 75,000, and we ended up doing that, I believe, off from a Sourcewell contract at 71,410, and that's also been delivered. Moving on, there's the Pepsi soccer field irrigation review. We had, if you recall, we did a river water irrigation plan on this, and we determined it wasn't feasible to pump river water up there to irrigate this. It was actually more cost effective just to use treated water. But with that concept, Chad and his team with Parks and Rec, they've made attempts to make the system more efficient. They've been changing out sprinkler heads. They've been removing some bottlenecks so that they get better coverage with the sprinkler system they're doing. City engineering helped with them a little bit with surveying some of that, and we'll continue working together on that, whatever they need. But the idea is to try to basically, we got to keep things green, but to also be conscious of it, of what we're using up there. And this last year, the city, we used less water than typical, which some of that we had a wet spring, right? But less water was used than typically up there, and I guess we plan to continue to make improvements with that. Just a side note, I did look at the last 5 years of treated water usage, and we're holding pretty well. Once we implemented scheduled watering, that's taken the peak off from our system and it's kind of held it pretty well. We have about 5.8 million gallon total capacity for water treatment, and I was looking at that, and we've been sitting around that 5.1, 5.2, and we have about 600,000 excess capacity, if you will, for water treatment at this point off from our peak day. So something that is in the radar, and I plan to be talking to the commission moving forward on plans and thoughts of maybe acquiring more water, but that gives you an idea where we've been sitting pretty consistent over the last 5 years. So. FEMA floodplain mapping, the engineering department's been working with planning on this. Basically, FEMA is updating their floodplain mapping for the James River, and it ended up, it's raising the 100-year flood elevation, which may affect flood insurance for some properties. We have argued strongly with FEMA about some of the conservative nature of the revised mapping with no success. and they will not be looking at any adjustments or changes. For instance, one of the things that's really silly to me is that they show that our current wastewater lagoons are flooded in the 100-year flood. And it's like, how do you know that those are flooded? Those are based not on the river levels, they're based on our operating levels, right? So it's a challenge working with that group. So we're working through some of that. So the new mapping was supposed to become effective in 2025. It did not, it is not out yet. I believe it is still coming. And we're currently still working together with them. One of the things that we're looking at is we need to update the floodplain ordinance to meet requirements of National Flood Insurance Program. And Barry's been working on that, and that'll be coming to you guys, new ordinance updates here in the next month probably. And finally, traffic control and striping. Troy Merriam kind of heads this up for us, but he does all the striping and takes care of the traffic control around town. So we do a lot of our own striping for street and parking lot projects. We also provide our own traffic control for a lot of our projects, with signage, and we've got 3 different message boards now that we can use to direct traffic, and we also do our own traffic speed volume studies, and then Troy maintains the traffic signals and traffic signs through town, along with the weather warning signs and street lights that we have. So with that, that's kind of the update for the year. A lot of projects. It's been very busy.
Thank you, Brett, for that update. I want to point out the one big one there, and it really is big, is that water thing. When we put that water restriction in place, we didn't put it in place because it was a dry year. We put it in place because in case of an emergency, we would have been in trouble. And as you can see, as you look back on the 5 years, it has held its own. And that's that's good information to pass forward, because it's not because we're dry.
Yep.
That's not it.
And the community is growing. Like, if you look at the census, you look at the community's grown, but we are maintaining, like our peak is still maintaining at this point.
Right.
And that's, so we're using more water overall, but our peak day is holding, and that's with that scheduled watering.
Right. That's really good information, because I know a lot of people had a little heartache about that, so. Any questions or comments for his report, or, there's a lot of stuff there, but that's good, thank you.
Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, Brett.
All right, we're gonna move on to Commissioner Bragg, Solid Waste Department holiday hours.
So if you don't know,
Really?
Christmas is coming up. And solid waste will not be open on Christmas Day, so we've given you plenty of warning. The solid waste department will close at noon tomorrow, December 24th. It'll be closed all day Wednesday, December 25th. And once again, that final reminder that as folks are unwrapping presents, any of the gift bags, tissue paper, glossy wrapping paper, all that stuff has to go in your brown container and not into recycling.
Okay, thank you. Well, then,